With Sukuna's defeat right around the corner, it is time for Megumi to come back in full action and to team up with Yuji to defeat Sukuna inside of their innate domain, to finally put a rest to Sukuna, and finally we will get a glimpse at Megumi's true power, his true insane level of cursed energy after absorbing all of it from Ryomen Sukuna. I'm telling you right now, we are about to get one of the best 2v1 battles probably in all of JJK and maybe even in Shonen. This is going to be very special. This is something that has been set up since the very beginning, and it is time that we get Megumi and Yuji versus Sukuna inside of the innate domain now that they've pretty much defeated Sukuna physically in the new chapter. And let's just get right into this. Be sure to leave a like on the video, it helps out a ton. Thank you so much. And of course, if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe for a ton of consistent and quality JJK content just like this video. Watching less than 10% of people who watch my videos are subscribed, so if you love JJK, I assure you, you won't regret subscribing. And of course, thank you to the special grade members of the channel, it's much appreciated, guys. Alright, so first things first is we have to talk about how Yuji pretty much rocked Sukuna's soul, and of course, it's not like he did this alone. It was so much help, the help of pretty much dozens of characters. Higuruma, Maki, Yuta, Todo, Gojo, Kusakabe, everybody except Akari helped a lot in defeating Sukuna. Everyone, literally even Miwa, fought Sukuna in some way, as Miwa actually used a simple domain to save Maki from the domain. And I'm wondering actually, where is Maki, because she should be here right now, unless that domain did a lot of damage to Maki that we didn't see off screen, or maybe Todo didn't save them. That could always be a possibility, but it is a bit concerning where Maki is. But the main point is that it seems like Sukuna right now is done for. Like I said in the intro, unless Sukuna has some binding vow or some really plot-induced way to survive this, there is no way he could tank this. I mean, unless out of nowhere, literally out of thin air, he summons the Heat 10, which I guess could be a possibility because Megumi's shadows have the ability to store weapons. You can store anything in it, but it will make you heavier. But you know, Sukuna's so strong, even if he had the Heat 10, it wouldn't affect him at all. Of course, Higuruma did say that the 10 shadows was likely gone because of the fight he had with Gojo, even though Sukuna should still have the technique itself, the foundational technique, even if all the shadows are gone, which is not the case, by the way. There are still 2 or 3 Shikigami which haven't been destroyed, but even if all of them were destroyed, the foundational ability of controlling shadows is something he should still be able to do. Unless, of course, GEGE gives an explanation that because Sukuna incarnated his true body, he can no longer use Megumi's technique, which again shouldn't make sense since even though Sukuna incarnated his own body, there's Megumi's soul is still there, and also it is still Megumi's base body, so the technique should still be there even after incarnation. But I could be wrong about that, but even so, that could be a way that he pulls out the Heat 10, and maybe the Heat 10 actually saves him. It's the only thing he can use, and really that's all I can think of. I mean, it is Sukuna, so there's several ways he could just make it out of this Jacob's ladder, but I'm just gonna bet my money that Sukuna right here, right now, has finally lost the battle. But of course, there's still more to it, because as Yuji said himself, the main plan is not just to defeat Sukuna, but it is to save Megumi. And I do think that Yuji saying that wake up Megumi Fushiguro in this chapter is once again GEGE reminding us that Megumi is still a factor here. He is still a key player, because if Megumi can just take over Sukuna's soul and regain control of his own body, then that means that even if you can't truly kill Sukuna, because the fingers, again, I want to remind you, they're indestructible. Sukuna right now is a cursed object more so than anything else, so even if you destroy his main body, as long as his fingers are around, you'll never truly be able to kill him, unless there is a way Yuji might be able to do it, because remember, even Gojo wasn't able to destroy Sukuna fingers, so we'll see about that. But one way you could get around this issue is if Megumi simply takes control of the body, and if Megumi just fully takes control, then Sukuna will basically be trapped just like he was with Yuji. Of course, this does leave a lot of other problems, such as Sukuna still being around, but that is simply one possibility. Another option is, and this is what the second part and the main point of this video is going to be about, is that what if Yuji and Megumi are able to completely destroy Sukuna from within the innate domain and completely destroy his soul that way? So even if you're not destroying the physical fingers itself, if you destroy the soul that contains the fingers, in this way Sukuna will be gone forever. And this is what I think is going to happen right now. So we saw that at least once Yuji did enter the innate domain. He entered the deepest part of Megumi, the deepest part of his soul, the innate domain, and he saw him there, because remember, Sukuna submerged Megumi's soul into darkness, as far down as it could go, and Yuji was able to enter that place for a very brief moment. Now, the only reason he was forced to exit is because, you know, Sukuna kind of cut him in half. Well, he cut Yuta in half, but he almost cut Yuji in half. He landed a devastating blow against him. So if there is a situation where Sukuna is rendered completely immobile and he's physically incapable of doing any action in this scenario, Yuji would then have as much time as he needs to fight Sukuna within the innate domain. It wouldn't be like that time when Sukuna used the world-ending slash and had to kick him out very soon. In this scenario, Yuji would have a lot of time to battle him inside of the innate domain. And this is how I think the final, or at least the battle before the merger, is going to go. And this isn't a new idea. This isn't something I'm saying I just came up with. You know, I and many other YouTubers and just many people in the community have been talking about this ever since Megumi's body got taken over and Gojo vs Sukuna started. And it's the fact that Megumi and Yuji are probably going to team up to fight Sukuna inside the innate domain. And this has been foreshadowed many times. We saw reveal that several times in the past, Yuji and Sukuna have fought inside of an innate domain, and this would be a really cool rematch for Yuji to get his get back in this way as well. And most importantly, more than anything else, it would just be cool to see Yuji and Megumi team up again to fight Sukuna, because they are the main character and the dragonist. You do have to remember that, and also just narratively it would fit in so many ways, because Megumi told Yuji that I need you to save me. It was almost like a curse that Megumi put onto Yuji, and Yuji would fulfill that role if he goes inside of Megumi's innate domain and actually gives him the will to live once again. And together with Megumi, they team up to fight Sukuna, and there's even more narrative build up to this and foreshadowing. It's the fact that Megumi's domain has constantly been improving throughout the series, and it's slowly building up that we'll eventually see the true Chimera Shadow Garden. There clearly is something there that we don't know. We see that the backbone of the skeleton is there. It could be something really crazy like the skeleton yokai, which is the oldest theory that's been around for Megumi and his domain, but really there could be so many other things, such as the fact that Megumi may have as much cursed energy as Sukuna, his output may be on that level, and maybe just by being in Sukuna's body for so long, just through muscle memory, sheer muscle memory alone, he may even be able to perform an open barrier domain expansion. And it's pretty interesting because all of this is happening inside of the innate domain, so it's already his domain to begin with, and we may see an actual domain clash within the innate domain. So maybe we get to see the Chimera Shadow Garden and the Malevolent Shrine clash within the innate domain, fighting for control, and of course Yuji would be there to help Megumi as well. I just think this would be a really cool way to end the fight with Sukuna, because of course you get to have Megumi shine in many ways, because do remember he is a dragonist as well, and he was sidelined pretty badly recently, so it'd be great to see him back in action. I mean, honestly, Megumi's fights have been some of my favorites in the series. His fight against Registar in particular is one of my favorite fights. Of course, his fight against the Finger Bearer was also very good. Megumi just is really cool to watch, and just seeing the full potential of the Ten Shadows finally be unleashed, because remember, this guy has been hyped again and again for having this godlike potential, and if we finally get to see it in full action, because of course Sukuna has been in his body for so long in full control, and his cursed energy and output and all of his skills would be deeply engraved onto Megumi, not just his body but his very soul itself, much more than it was for Yuji, way more, because not only is it more fingers, it's all 20 fingers, but it's the fact that Sukuna's been in control for a full month, and even the fact that he's been using his Jujutsu again and again and again repeatedly in his body, just to such a disgusting extent. I mean, he's used domain expansions more times than I can count, so all of this should definitely help Megumi in that way to actually gain these abilities as well, just like it was for Yuji. But of course Yuji required further training. Megumi's case is going to be Yuji's, but on complete steroids. It's going to be absolutely insane. And finally, the potential man memes will die. I really hope we never see those again, because if we get to see Megumi live up to his full potential, which again has been hyped up so much, you have to remember that this isn't just a meme in the community. This is something that's been said repeatedly by Gojo, by Toji, by Naobito, by literally everyone. They hype up Megumi's potential, and specifically the potential of the Ten Shadows. So I know we got to see a glimpse of it with Sukuna, who used it very well, but there's a big difference in using the domain expansion itself, and also this is Megumi's own technique, so being able to see him use it is quite different than seeing Sukuna use just some of the Shikigami. And this would also be very important for Yuji as well, because this has already been foreshadowed when they were fighting Sukuna inside of Yuta's domain, when he actually stepped inside of it and he used his own ability to step inside the innate domain. So it would be really cool to see him actually fight Sukuna, and maybe he might even be the one to deliver the final blow to Sukuna within the innate domain to actually get rid of him for good, because this is Yuji's fight, and even though it's been Yuji's fight since the very beginning, this also is Megumi's fight as well, because Sukuna has really ravaged his life completely. Because again, you have to remember that it was Sukuna who killed Yorozu, who was in Tsumiki's body, and even though Megumi is unjustly blaming himself for this, even though it was Sukuna, maybe Yuji will actually get him to see the light, and Megumi can use all these emotions and hatred not on himself but on Sukuna. And do remember that we have seen Megumi and Yuji team up before in the past, and even when they were fighting the inverse guy, they said, oh, this is a bit odd because our paces are so different, we're a bit out of sync. But of course by the end of the fight they actually matched their own pace and they became in sync. So it'd be really cool to see just them fighting side by side, seeing Yuji use Cleaviness Mantle more and more. Maybe he gets to hit some black flashes, and it'd be really cool to see if Megumi gets to hit some black flashes, because that's something that we never got to see. Everyone in the main trio hit a black flash, nobody hit one. Yuji has hit several black flashes, and just Megumi, I feel like it's just a given that he should hit a black flash before the series ends. Of course, I don't think this is where it's all going to end. I think this will be the final battle, especially in regards to Sukuna, and I do believe there is something big that is left, you know, the big elephant in the room, or I should say the big merger in the room, the merger. Now the thing is, I don't exactly know what the merger is going to be. Now it could be that Yuji becomes a vessel for the merger. We've talked about this in many videos before. It could be that the merger isn't actually some giant kaiju and it's never even summoned. It could just be that, and it's more so a tactical problem that they have to get rid of rather than an actual final battle. Or it really could be, just as it's been foreshadowed, a massive creature or a massive monster that needs to be defeated. In any sort of scenario, I do think that this is is pretty much the end for Sukuna, unless when the merger is summoned he brings his own will into it, but I hope that's more so a Kenjaku thing and not a Sukuna thing, because this is Kenjaku's merger and it'd be really cool to see him in that sort of way come back. He does deserve it, he earned it, he spent 1,000 years building up for this, just for it to be taken at the end. So if Kenjaku does come back, that would be pretty interesting, but for now we'll see. And I do believe that Megumi and Yuji versus Sukuna inside the innate domain is going to be really generational. But hey, if you enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a like, it helps out a ton, thank you. And of course, if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe for a ton of consistent and quality JJK content just like this. Like I said in the intro, less than 10% of people who watch my videos are subscribed. So if you love JJK, I promise you, you won't regret subscribing. And of course, thank you to all the channel members as well. It's always much appreciated, guys. But that's all from me. Have a great day and take care.